Today is brought to you by the Phenomenal Group. They are a Hong Kong-based charity who proactively promote people getting themselves checked, men's health checks, women's breast checks, and lots more, but that's the main part of it. It's also in collaboration today with Joint Dynamics. People here know Joint Dynamics as one of the top physical health and wellbeing companies in Hong Kong, but they are actually a massive mental health advocate as well. They've done lots of work with the Phenomenal Group before, as well as a lot of other initiatives. Secondly, big thank you to Smoke and Barrel. This is the second year they've actually hosted us, so thank you very much to you guys. We also have the Cave Barbershop outside, who are offering free trims, moustache, hair, whatever you fancy. So yeah, thank you very much to you guys. And lastly, thank you to all of you for showing up on your Saturday morning bright and early. It's a massive, shows how well the Phenomenal Group have done to create such a good community that you were willing to show up early on a Saturday morning. Next, today is all about honest conversations, learning from one another, creating a strong culture around mental health and well-being. Before we begin, I just want to take a moment to acknowledge what Hong Kong is going through right now, especially the tragic situation with what's happening in Taipei. Many people across the city are feeling the emotional weight of it, even those not directly impacted. If any of you here today are carrying stress, worry, or heaviness because of this, please know that you're not alone. Mental health matters at all times. In crisis, yes, but equally in quiet, everyday moments when life feels uncertain. This morning is a safe and supportive space for you guys too. In response to the Taipei fires, Mind Hong Kong are here today, and they have mobilised a crisis support team of 17 clinical and counselling psychologists, social workers, wellbeing practitioners who are on the ground in shelters from today all through the weekend, providing face-to-face psychological support to the affected residents. They are showing up for those who need it most during the critical first days. Around the venue, you'll find Mind Hong Kong's resource cards and information. There is QR codes where you can access support and guidance, as well as make a contribution, and you will receive all of these in your post-event email as well. So if you feel like helping in any way, there's plenty of ways to do it, and Mind Hong Kong are here to help you and support with that. Also, just want to say a big thank you to all of our giveaway supporters. On your chairs, you've got vouchers from Mind Hong Kong, you've got Ikigai, who are offering a full week of yoga, Joint Dynamics, Float Hong Kong, Live Leet, and Phenomenally Mo, and many more. So make sure you take those away with you and make the most of them. Some of us have already been, but my Phenomenally Mo are also offering free prostate exams this month. I know some of the boys have been down, so that's really great. They're also going to carry it on into December on a first come, first served basis. And also on your chair, we have some 50% off men's and women's health vouchers with Sono Express. So make sure after this you take one of these and go and get yourself checked. Yeah, so that's on that. Right, let's get started. So, our first conversation focuses on men's mental health. Our panellists are Ngatai Walker, who is head coach of Hong Kong Scottish, educator and long-time player mentor. We have Aurelie Gomez, clinical psychologist from Central Minds, CBT EMDR therapist, and Dave Jacquier, co-founder of Joint Dynamics and long-time mental health advocate. Moderated by Sion Bennett, who is the co-founder of On Invest and a strong voice for mental health and well-being. So please join me in welcoming Sion and our speakers.
First thing I'm going to do, can you guys switch down, and I'm going to come here, because you guys are the stars of the show, so I'll come around a little bit more like that. Okay, let's start off, as Henry said, obviously I guess the general theme of the day is around men's health, and also mental health, but this one is more, I suppose, specifically on the mental health side. So thank you all for coming. I'm going to first off, I guess, get you guys warmed up and give a little introduction about yourselves, please. 30 seconds, 1 minute, a little bit about yourself, and then I'll go into questions.
David Jacquier, as they mentioned, heavily involved in Joint Dynamics, and we've known the PP guys for quite some time. Personal trainer by day, but obviously I'm trying to create a new environment for myself by studying psychology, and hopefully I get to be a psychologist at some point in the future. So after starting in sort of banking and then into health and fitness, I'm now then looking to move into psychology. I'm heavily involved in the NGO scene in Hong Kong as well with Run Hong Kong. And so for me, it's a little bit of everything sort of thrown together into today, and hopefully I can help out and make everything a little bit easier to say.
I'm Aurelie. I'm a clinical psychologist, which means that I take care of people's mental health. I offer mostly one-to-one therapy, but I do talks like today to spread the word on mental health. We work with people that have anxiety, depression, trauma, and also things like self-esteem and confidence issues. That's my main job.
Ko hapirangi te maunga ko wapu te awa ko Ngāti Whautiwi, ko Ngatai ko Kungoa. Ngatai from New Zealand. I've been here since June, coaching Hong Kong Scottish primary school principal for the previous 8 years before coming over here. Dad of 3, 17, 14 and 12, and 47 years old.
Cool. Happy day. Okay, right. Ngatai, I'm going to come back to you first off. Okay, so I guess quite prevalent for you as a head coach of a team. You have new guys coming all the time, and as well, I guess, for yourself. Do you, again, with your players and for yourself, do you have any kind of tips or ways to, I suppose we know Hong Kong's a crazy place, right? Do you have ways to kind of drown out a lot of that noise and easily get carried away? Is there something you do with your players around that, or tips and tricks?
I think personally first, I came over in June pretty hot, pretty mad. Had 5 different apartments in the first few months. Got a good landlord now, which is good. But I think the one I do is I just try and get 8 hours sleep. The best place I found in Hong Kong for me after a day of just sensory overload was just got a blackout eye mask, aircon on, big heavy duvet, and I just felt safe and so cold and so great. And just slept for 8 hours, and that was honestly like that shut all the tabs down in my head, and that made me go for the next day. I think for our players, what we try and do is just we just try and listen, try and do one-on-ones, and we've got a couple of players at the moment that are struggling, whether it's in their relationships or just they've moved away from home. It's coming to Christmas, they're on not much money. You need money in Hong Kong to live, and then just wondering how they're gonna. Can they go home over Christmas and stuff? So I think in short, get the earlier training, touch base with people, high fives, handshakes, and listen.
Yeah, right. Okay, and I guess you've touched on it a little bit there already, but are there certain signs that you look for, I suppose, in your players when there's, to know they're struggling? Is it just a case of, like I said, turning out early, or are there things you look out for?
Yeah, I think from Thursday, one of our players, new Bubs, relocated. His eyes weren't right. Like it was that simple, like looked quite teary and stuff through there. So I think it was just being aware. I think as a principal and working with people sort of over my career, I'm not too bad at sort of sensing that. So another one, his dad's really cropped back in South Africa and stuff through there. So I think it's reading the body and then just seeing if there's something's a little bit off.
Okay, cool. I'll come back to you. Got a few more questions after. Aurelie, I've got a very general question here. We joked earlier we haven't got loads of time, but how would you break down mental health and explain what it is, I suppose, in a quick form?
Mental health is obviously a range. We do have the severe cases like depression, anxiety, and trauma, but what people forget is really much what's happening every day. Like situations like you're sat here today, you might be feeling something, you might be thinking something, and you might want to behave in a certain way. And that's basically what mental health is how we're showing up in everyday situations, work, family, friends, relationships. And more importantly, I think a lot of people understand physical health being like how the body performs, and what mental health is just how the mind performs. And we follow the same principles. We work on strengthening our minds with therapy, with techniques and tools. We work on flexibility, being able to adapt in really stressful and hard situations. And we work with recovery, things like rest, saying no, setting boundaries. And that's what mental health is. It's obviously something you need to keep working on because it does show up every day in so many situations of life.
Cool. And what do you think, I guess men more specifically, need to understand better about mental health or stigmas, things like that? Is there something you think that men need to understand more?
I think there's so many misconceptions, especially that would hold men back. I think the first one that comes to mind is that you really have to be in a crisis to be going to deal with your mental health. You really need a reason, you need it to be really bad or problematic, when in actuality it's right now. I mean, there's no best time for therapy, but right now it is, when everything is okay or when you're calm. So don't wait for a crisis. And the second one that comes to mind is that talking doesn't help, even though my whole career is involved around talking. And I totally understand, because men are programmed to be wired to understand about the outcome-driven, solution-focused, and talking doesn't take away the problem, it doesn't get rid of it, so I understand that. But what people don't realize is that talking may not directly impact the problem, but by talking about the emotion, you're regulating your emotion, you're understanding it, you're building your cognitive capacity, and in some ways you're indirectly then working on the problem.
A problem shared is a problem halved, is what
Correct.
my parents always say. Okay, I'll come back to you a little bit after. Dave, you're obviously a very intuitive guy, I think, from my impression, quite emotionally switched on. Are there, again, going back to Ngatai's question, what kind of signs do people look for, someone struggling maybe in the workplace? And then also, how can you, I suppose, last year we spoke a lot about creating an environment where people feel comfortable to talk about it.
I'm sort of fortunate that I interact with an enormous amount of people on a daily basis, and every single time I see them, I can see whether they're happy, sad, tired, fatigued. If someone's coming in for a personal training session, they're walking in looking at their shoes, you're sort of picking up on that energy straight away. So I get to see them at sort of snapshots of their week and snapshots of their months and snapshots of their sort of years, really. And like, there's some really easy ones that are very easy to look at. And if someone's putting on weight, like as a personal trainer, obviously I don't want that to happen, but you can see when someone's sort of letting themselves physically go, they're not shaving as much, they tend to be like a little bit more sunken in. To your point on recovery of sleep, like sleep is the elixir to nearly everything. And so that'd be the first one. Just the physical performance, because you know that if you're physically neat and tidy, you're taking a pride of performance in who you are and what you are, and you've got a self-worth that's associated with that. Guys like that. Or my impression is that guys like that. Also, you'll find that when they're reluctant to speak to you about how they're doing, how you going? Yeah, I'm good, thanks. They'll be very monosyllabic in their answers. They'll want to give you a very short answer. People who tend to feel good about themselves will give you a conversation answer. I'm really good. I had a great weekend. I did this with my kids. We won at rugby. Our team's going well, that sort of stuff. They tend to be less monosyllabic in that response. And then you'll find that it's easier to get someone to then re-interact with you at a second time. Hey, would you like to catch up on the weekend? No, I'm good, thanks. And so they'll tend to create some sort of like a bit of a stiff arm emotionally. And it doesn't matter how long you've sort of known them. I've had clients that I've known and trained for 6-7 years, and they'll still stiff arm me at certain periods, and you know that that's sort of not a great sign that they're doing really well. I'm fortunate to be surrounded by lots and lots of guys in the training ecosystem, but also up at the cricket club, you're dealing with a bunch of guys, all of different cultures, ethnicities, ages, demographics, and so you can sort of see that people they'll recoil and then come back into the group, and you can see pretty quickly, when people aren't necessarily going all that well.
Right. Cool. And obviously you're on a journey of, learning about mental health, and you're along that path right now. How do you think, I suppose, other people can advance their knowledge of mental health and things like that?
There's I work with an NGO called Run, and as a part of working with this NGO, what happens, a lot of our participants are very, very vulnerable, and so you have to be somewhat skilled in sort of picking up their vulnerabilities and understanding what you do know and what you don't know. And so there's a fantastic program where it's called Mental Health First Aiding, and it's something that I think that all organisations should do, because I really would suggest that some things it's great to be able to pick up on certain nuances of someone's interaction that you can then identify as that person needing help. But there's also the case where the conversation then comes into overreach, and giving advice can be just as dangerous as not giving advice. And so you have to understand that what you don't know and what you shouldn't be saying either, because it's not something physical where I can fix an arm. It's like something that's really pretty soft that you can't have a great visual on. You can't say, yes, I'm fixing this problem, because it's impossible. Like, I'm not skilled enough, and no one that's got the anecdotal sort of opinion would be skilled enough to do that. So I'd say organisations should have key staff members who are in leadership positions go and do the mental health first aid course. I think it'd be really valuable.
This is not one of our questions,
Yep.
so I'm going to ask you
That's right.
off the cuff. And I guess you touched on it a little bit before. So, is there a way that I know you said with your clients, for example, you're seeing them all the time. Is there a way that you, as I said, like kind of make an environment where they feel safe to talk?
If you can give them a chance to fill the silence that you create, and so a lot of the times people will ask a question and they'll give you a response and go, yeah, they're just like I know, and you'll fill that silence, and it basically bails the person out of giving what they really want to say next. Sometimes a really awkward silence helps a lot, and then a follow-up question was, okay, so how does that make you feel? Rather, oh, that's no good, right? And so leading to the next question that gives an open-ended answer allows that person to then go, okay, you're actually wanting to ask about me. It's not like saying, oh yeah, that happened to me the other day as well, in which case you've just shut down the conversation. And so you haven't given that person a chance to actually tell you what they really want to say next. And the awkward silence is fantastic, because it's sort of like, I want to hear more from you. I'm leaving this silence open for you. Fill it up, sort of thing. It's pretty awkward and it's hard to do, but when you get a bit better at it, it works very well.
I mean, Aurelie, you mentioned earlier about how men are very solution-focused. And you always see memes online and stuff like that about how sometimes your partner, your girlfriend, just wants to tell you how they feel. You don't have to always give them a reason, right? But I think that's been a big learning for me, actually. Sometimes it's listening and allowing that silence, like someone to fill it. So, okay, Aurelie, I'm going to come back to you. Why do you think, you mentioned it earlier actually about physical health, why do you think then that we can express how we feel physically, but we really struggle to express how we feel mentally?
I think it's biology. We have incredible pain receptors, so if I were to touch a stove there, for example, immediately I'd feel the pain. I'd be able to also point it out by saying, oh, it's because I touched the stove, and that's where I feel the pain. And I'd immediately try to find a solution, like with Band-Aid, ice, etc. Whereas with emotions, they turn out of nowhere. They don't happen as strongly. They can kind of build up over time. They're unexplainable. And so biology does program us better to be responsive to physical response rather than mental ones, which is why we're not very good. And also there's a huge stigma around even starting emotional conversations. Like, we do ask how we're feeling, but everyone says, I'm busy, I'm fine, as a response, as opposed to truly understanding what's the language. There's over 200 emotions. Don't know that because they know the 5 core ones: anger, sad, jealousy, etc. But go to feelingswheel.com. You'll find 200 different feelings, and it's just a language that we have to learn that we're just not into.
Well, hopefully Inside Out, the film.
Yes.
Keeps
Those are the 5 ones.
getting up to 200. Okay, Ngatai, I'm going to come to you. And again, I think you're a very good person to ask this for as a character in your position. How do you think we can, I suppose, encourage more men or people, but specifically men, to just talk about mental health, think about mental health?
No, I think what you're doing now is pretty good, like filtering through the rugby clubs and just having sort of, I don't know, just natural mental health influences that's just part of who you are and what you do. So yeah. That's probably
Open
really,
conversations, keep
just
having
having
conversations, right?
having
Yeah.
good people that are having those conversations. I think that that mental health first aid, you've got people that are doing that, and there's some skills sort of through there, and then it's having avenues if it gets a bit heavy for you, so then where can you get support from or shift to? But yeah, this is a great start.
Cool. Okay, and then you mentioned earlier about the practice views, putting your head mask on, getting a good sleep. So I'm going to ask you guys for one thing that you guys personally do. I know the CBT is a big thing, right? But we've got a lot of practice. one thing that you guys personally do for your own mental health. For me, it's getting headphones on, going for a walk, or going to the gym. But yeah, do you guys have one thing that you do?
I protect my first hour of the day. Like, no one can bother me. My phone is on airplane mode because, like, my job is helping people, being so in tune with others. So I need to make sure that my first hour is for me. And it's super selfish, but it's so important to me. So I use it for exercise. I use it to watch the sunrise. I use it for music. But it's my favorite hour of the day, and it's definitely protected every day.
That's good, very good, yeah.
I don't have anything that's particular that I do every day. There's certain things that I don't do every day that I have to really push back at not doing. So I'm not, contrary to Colin, my CEO, and everyone else, I'm not on social media, and so for me it's something that I just wildly protect. I just don't want to touch it. That's the one thing. Sleep is the other thing. Like, we've dealt a lot with people who know a lot about sleep and the value of sleep, and you know that sleep is basically, if you sleep a lot, well then you're probably going to do a bit more exercise. If you sleep a lot, you're going to probably eat a little bit better. If you sleep a lot, you're going to be more patient with your kids, and it builds a better ecosystem. So I'm pretty protective of my sleep, and I'm pretty protective of sort of my outside influence.
Cool. Happy days. Is there any questions from the floor? Anything you guys would like to ask? All good? Cool. Okay.